This is the very popular island of Sicily, Italy. Buongiorno, good morning, how's it going? Today is Monday, June 9th, 2025, currently 84 degrees Fahrenheit, that is 29 degrees Celsius. Decided to start this video in the same place as yesterday because I like this really cool alley with some great street art, much better than the crappy graffiti that you see all over the city, unfortunately. So, for those who didn't see the past couple of videos, I booked a room here in Catania, just a few blocks away, for a full week, with the intention of exploring the surrounding area, including Taormina. And so I'm going to catch a train over there in just a few minutes, heading over to the train station. Bought a train ticket yesterday. It is about an hour away. And so one thing that I'm curious to find out once I get there is, am I going to regret having decided to stay for a full week here in Catania and wish that I had stayed a few days in Taormina, or maybe the whole time, because it's supposed to be really nice and it is the main reason why I wanted to come back to see this part of Sicily. But it's also supposed to be very touristy. It was more expensive than staying here in Catania and a bit more inconvenient as far as getting there straight from the airport and then getting back to the airport to fly out, and also to go to Syracuse, which is the opposite direction from Catania. So staying in Catania was just the most convenient option for exploring the area, and good price on the room there. So let's do it. Looking forward to seeing this town. I brought my swim trunks. I'm not sure if there's a beach there, but I think so. And so maybe get a swim in today. So here we go. Looking forward to seeing what is supposed to be one of the most beautiful towns in Sicily, Taormina. Here we go. Let's catch the train. And a little something to enjoy while I walk down to the station. A very dripping gelato. Pistachio again, and Torrone? Not quite sure what that is, but it is good. All right, this is getting out of control. And it looks like this must be the train. There we go. Bicocca, Taormina. Never heard of Bicocca. And so this is Taormina. Here we have some very ancient looking ruins. No idea the history of these, but certainly many, many hundreds of years old. So the train drops you at the nearest station, but from there it is then a 15-minute or so drive, and so I got that bus here to the center of the town. It is really cute. It is not near the sea. Well, it is very close, but it is not on the sea. Commune di Taormina. So you can see the sea down there. It is quite a long ways down. There is a tramway of some sort. Ooh, those guys got a pool there. That looks like a good place to stay if I were to stay in Taormina here. So at this point I'm feeling like I made the right choice to stay in Catania. Taormina is definitely looking gorgeous, this entire area, but it is also very touristy, and yet at the same time not quite as happening as Catania, which I guess that's kind of a contradiction, but Catania has a fair amount of tourists as well, but also more of a locals feel, more of an actual happening city atmosphere. So let's head first for the ancient amphitheater, and it looks like getting there will involve seeing a lot of the town. Let's head through the old arch here. All right, we have a year. MDCCC VIII. 1808, I guess. All right. Looks like this is basically the entrance into the town. And yeah, it is super touristy. So one of the reasons why I wanted to come here, other than simply because it's a really beautiful Sicilian town, is because of the amphitheater, which I am walking towards right now, about a 10-minute walk away from here. Up the hill, I think. Now, I made a factual error in 2 of my videos. They're assigned Teatro Antico. So in my first video of Catania from just a couple of days ago, then I said that Taormina had the largest amphitheater in the ancient world. And as I said that, I realized, wait, it can't be larger than the Colosseum in Rome. And so I kind of corrected myself, but I just wasn't sure. About that. All right, let's take a quick peek inside. And so that statement about Taormina's theater being the largest or one of the largest was based on a previous video in which I had stated that when I was in Greece and visited the ancient theater of Epidaurus on the Peloponnese Peninsula. And I didn't realize my mistake at the time. Of course, yes, the Colosseum in Rome is the largest ancient Roman or Greek amphitheater or theater of any kind in the ancient world. And so I was going on having misunderstood or misread something when I was doing my research for the Epidaurus Theater. So I don't know what I got wrong there, but as it turns out, the Taormina Theater here is nowhere near the largest either Roman or Greek theaters. The seating capacity is around 10,000, whereas at Epidaurus, I think that it was more than 20,000. And there are many other ancient theaters that are larger, including in Athens. I think it is the Dionysus Theater is the largest ancient Greek theater with a capacity of about 25,000. So just want to correct that factual error. I just read something incorrectly online. So yeah, I am actually really glad that I didn't decide to stay here for a full week. It is just a very different vibe being mostly tourists, but certainly still very much worth a visit. All right, let's wander up this lovely shopping street. And so here we are. The theater is right through here. So here we have some Latin and a year there, MDCC, so 1744, since the X is before the L. L is 50, X is 10, but X before the L subtracts, so that's my best guess, is 1744. All right, here it is. So, if you happen to see my previous video of Epidaurus, then you can see right away it is not as big, but still very, very impressive, and clearly still being used for performances today. Such an amazing thing that they have been revitalized. So, the first ancient theater here was constructed by the Greeks. And so Sicily was Greek. As I've discussed previously, then one of the reasons why I wanted to come back to this part of Sicily, because I visited Sicily a couple years ago, but the other side of the island didn't make it over here. And so when I was in Turkey a few years ago, then I bought this fake coin, which turned out to be a Syracusian decadrachma. Deca is 10 in Greek. Drachma was the old currency, although not that old. It was in use when I came to Greece for the first time in 1990. They were still using the drachma after thousands of years. And so Sicily was populated by the Greeks in around the 8th century BC. And then in around the 3rd, 2nd, 1st century BC, then the Roman Empire, the Roman Republic was the first phase, right? Republic and then into empire. And so the Roman Republic was rising and conquering Greek territory. And so eventually this became Roman. Look at that, Mount Etna, what a view. And so that kind of speaks to a subject of when does Greek civilization start? And I've discussed this previously, and it is definitely a point of debate. Wow. Man, oh man. So, speaking of Greek, right down there, you can see Naxos, that city there. And of course, Naxos is a Greek island. Naxos, Sicily, was the first established Greek town here, I guess going back to that 8th century BC period. So the train went right by there. And then the station is, I think, right down there. So when do you say was the start of the Greek civilization? Because it's not as if the Greeks conquered some other people that were there at some point. Well, yes, that did happen. Including here in Sicily, there were other people before the Greeks arrived. So they did do their fair share of conquering, but in other areas, including modern day Greece, then the civilization goes back thousands and thousands of years. And so there wasn't a specific point at which the Greeks came in from somewhere else and conquered the people that were there. And so the issue then is, at what point do you call them Greeks, basically? And so that period around the 8th and 7th centuries BC is an important point at which what we call Greek civilization was really being developed, including the language and their establishment in many places, including here, that would then be Greek for many centuries and millennia, up until the present day, of course. So basically there's no specific answer you can give as far as an exact date. Well, when did the Greek civilization really begin, or even what century? But that time frame of around 700 BC was a very important point at which the Greek civilization was developing into what it would become later during the classical period of Greece, etc. All right, look at this view, man. So what are we looking at over there? Is that Sicily or the mainland? Intense view. Look at that big, long beach down there. And there's a really pretty one down there that I was seeing from the bus. I think that must be the Italian mainland. The heel of the boot, I guess it would be. This whole area is just stunningly gorgeous. So yes, that is the Italian mainland out there. But I got it backwards. It is not the heel of the boot, it is the point of the boot. So the boot is kicking Sicily. And that is a part of Italy that I haven't been to yet, which looks like it has a lot of incredible places to see. Oh, I can see the tram going down there. The cable car. I have been to the heel on a road trip back in 2022. That is when I got my Italian parking ticket, the day that I was flying to Albania, and then it was a massive pain in the butt to deal with. But man, I'm definitely going to have to think about maybe staying longer in this part of Sicily. There is the city of Messina up at the end of the coast up there, right near where there is the very narrow channel between Sicily and the mainland, and it's supposed to be an interesting city. And then there are those islands, a little archipelago just north of Sicily, which look really nice, and I've wanted to see those. So I'm going to have to make some choices. Do I want to do more Mediterranean islands, beaches, etc., or something different and head for the mountains, especially the Tatras Mountains of Poland and Slovakia, which I really want to see. So I'll have to make up my mind soon. I just have another 3 days. At my place in Catania. Okay, let's head down into town, explore a little bit more, and then I might go ahead and take that cable car down to that beach. Definitely in the mood for a swim. It is heating up.
I don't understand.
That car is so cute. I guess that lady just rented it. The three-legged woman, symbol of Sicilia. 50 euros for that. Public gardens. Let's go take a look at that.
So pretty.
So I just withdrew 400 euros from that evil Euronet ATM. I know I'm a broken record on this, but decline conversion, decline conversion, decline conversion, and then it isn't so bad. So if I had accepted the conversion, then for my 400 euros, I would have been charged out of my bank account $533 US. They would have converted the currency, and I would have been subtracted $533. If you check on xe.com, 400 euros equals $455. So 533 or 455. My bank will do the conversion and charge approximately the same as what is listed on xe.com. In other words, they were going to charge me 78 bucks, $78 to withdraw cash. It is just such a scam. It actually says right there 15% markup. Just insane. So I declined, and then I was charged 495 euros. $5. Sounds better to me than 78. Decline conversion, decline conversion, decline conversion. Don't fall for the scam. You can pay for a hotel room with your 78 bucks. Really pretty streets here. So apparently Taormina has been a tourist destination since the 1800s, after the unification of Italy. Villa Comunale. The theater, there is the cable car going down. Florence Trevelyan and the Victorian Follies. The public gardens of Taormina, as we know them, are one of the most loved and visited sites of the town, and were once part of the vast property of Florence Trevelyan Catiola. She was a nature lover, always surrounded by her dogs and many other animals that she would lovingly take care of. At the end of the 1800s, Florence had chosen Taormina as the place in which to spend the rest of her days. The umpteenth victim of Taormina's charm. Can't blame her. Florence wanted to live her life in symphony with the surrounding nature, and her last will stated that her numerous animals should be taken care of, in particular her parrots, peacocks, crows, pigeons, and canaries. Together with her husband, she built a large house with 50 rooms, a short distance from Grand Hotel Timeo, which I saw. It was up near the theater, and she possessed numerous properties in Taormina and its surroundings, including Isola Bella. That is where the beach is. All right. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Wow. Look at the style of construction. It's just exquisite. This is without a doubt one of the most beautiful parts of Italy, and that is really saying something, because Italy has a lot of beautiful parts. Not just Taormina the town here, but the views from the train were really beautiful. Catania is definitely a much kind of grittier and messier city, being a larger city. Still also quite nice, but has some really rough and derelict neighborhoods. But seems like just everywhere around here is gorgeous. Look at this building.
A good thing I was walking behind him, so I can't imagine how much time it took to do that.
É isso, rico. Eu tenho pernas a tremer das escadas.
É?
E agora vou. Mais uma coisa que a Bárbara não faria. A Bárbara não podia ter vindo para ir gravar com todo. Não se vê nada.
Também não.
Este vídeo já está a funcionar.
Fonivia cable car, Taormina. Up there you can see the castle that I saw previously and the cables. So that is a great way to go. It cost €6, about $7, and took literally like 3 or 4 minutes to get down here. So we are at the water. You can see a little crowded beach there. I'm guessing they're all going to be crowded. Another one of these tunnels to the beach there, and then Isola Bella is this way. That is the more famous beach. Isola Bella. A rock beach. Nice looking water. Very crowded. Holy moly, this is crazy. So at the gardens, I think it said the lady owned this little island as well. And so I guess those were her homes or whatever they are as well. All right, time to take the sandals off, wander over there. Oh man, that water feels so nice. So I wonder if you can go all the way up there. It is really an absolutely phenomenal scene here if you just removed about 90% of the people. Just gotta come in low season. I bet it wasn't like this in the middle of May, and it was probably still fairly warm.
I nie wyprowadzałam go w wolno.
So a €6 ticket to go inside here. It's really, really interesting. So what was this, a pool, I guess? Wow. If so, that is quite a location for a swimming pool, and it gets nice and deep. Right on. What a just amazing day of exploring incredible Sicily. Super touristy, but for good reason.
De hogy mivel nekem nem a tanulás, a balerinák, ugye, azok mindig így mennek.
All right, guys. Well, I think that I'm going to call this my swim. It is getting late in the afternoon. I am wiped out and have a ways to go to get back to Catania, so I'm going to save my energy for that. Plus the fact that it is such a crazy crowded beach, not really my kind of a scene. So there you go, one day on Sicily Island, Italy. It is incredible. It is super touristy. I mean, this is early June. Come back in July and August and see what it's like. It's going to be a lot more crowded, but for good reason. So more coming from Italy. See ya. Taormina.